2016 ordinary level results released. Visakian tops the rankings. Will there be a cabinet reshuffle? Activists concerned over the investment on the Horana tyre factory.
මම යනවා පැන්සලක් ගන්න. පැන්සල තියෙනවා කඩේ තියෙන්නේ රුපියල් 100යි කියලා. මම කියනවා නෑ මම මේකට රුපියල් 1000ක් දෙන්නම්. එතනින් එහාට ගිහලා මං කියනවා ඕන්න මම මේ කඩෙත් වැඩ කරන්නම් කියලා. මෙන්න ඒ වගේ කුණුහරුපයක්.
40 deaths reported due to dengue in 2017.
Good evening and welcome to Primetime News. I'm Sandra Ferdinando.
And I'm Azra Hassan. Let's now take a look at the stories in detail. On to our lead story now. Dengue has claimed the lives of 40 persons so far this year, while health authorities say that reports of influenza AH1N1 patients have also spiked. A 14-year-old schoolboy was the latest to fall victim to dengue.
2 weeks ago, Avishka Dilushan fell ill and was admitted to the IDH hospital after numerous means of treatment. 4 days ago, Avishka, the only child in the family, was diagnosed with dengue and passed away last evening. During this year, 40 persons have fallen victim to dengue, while data from the National Dengue Control Unit reveals that 24,562 patients with dengue were reported from across the island. The highest number of patients were reported from Trincomalee. The symptoms are aches in the upper abdomen, loss of an appetite and vomiting. In addition, one might even feel weak and is likely to faint. If these symptoms are evident, it means that the person is likely to reach a hemorrhage level. Therefore, it is very important to admit these persons to hospital. My advice is not to resort to any traditional methods of battling fever, but to immediately seek medical attention. It is important to drink a lot of water. The Ministry of Health has decided to obtain the services of trainee nurses to battle the spread of dengue. The ministry said with effect from tomorrow, a dengue eradication week will be announced to battle the spread of the disease.
We believe that new strategies have to be implemented to control particularly vector mosquitoes, Aedes mosquitoes, which breed in container small articles and then natural breeding habitats. So countries like Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, Thailand, they have started new programs to control vector using a bacteria called Wolbachia, which is incorporated into the mosquitoes, and these incorporated mosquitoes are being released to the field so that the mosquitoes will be unable to develop the virus inside them, and then it will gradually decrease the mosquito population as well.
The epidemiology unit reports a spike in influenza AH1N1 patients from across the country. Specialists point out that of the three categories, most patients are diagnosed with category A of influenza AH1N1, while other patients have come under the common fever. Influenza AH1N1 is mainly reported among children and expectant mothers.
Seasonal influenza.
This is called a seasonal influenza, which is reported twice a year. It spreads through cough and sneeze. The symptoms are also a cough and cold. As this occurs very rarely, some people might find it painful. If children below the age of 2, elders over the age of 65, and expectant mothers contract this disease, they would be at risk without medication. The Ministry of Health has urged patients affected with influenza H1N1 to remain calm and not panic, adding that they must seek treatment for the virus. As this is not a migratory virus, the ministry points out that it is mainly reported in December, February, May and July. The Ministry of Health reports that clinical advice, medical test equipment, antibiotics as well as protective wear have been provided to all health institutions. A patient is required to take adequate rest. Then he must be given nutritious meals with plenty of water. If there is a cold, use a handkerchief when sneezing. One must refrain from moving to public places. There is no reason to panic. Patients must be moved to a hospital.
The results of the GCE ordinary level examination were released earlier today.
551,340 candidates sat for the 2016 edition of the GCE Ordinary Level Examination under the old and new syllabus. Anuki Chamatka Pasquale of Visakha Vidyalaya Colombo was placed first in the island after obtaining distinctions in all subjects. SM Munasinghe of Mahamaya Balika Vidyalaya Kandy was placed second. 2 students were placed third in the examination this year, Sugat Ranidil from Anand College Colombo and Dimut Mirisage of Rahula College Mathura. Coming in fourth was Pavasara Maliti Kumari Herath of Ratnavali Balika Vidyalaya Gampaha. 3 students tied at 5th place. Ranumi Nanayakara of Devi Balika Vidyalaya Colombo, Damsara Medavi of Sangamita College Gaul and A. Abhinandan of Hindu College Jaffna. The Department of Examination states that candidates could call the 1911 hotline if they have any queries with regard to the examination results. In addition, candidates can also pose their inquiries to the school's examination organisation and the results centre by calling the numbers 0112-784-208 or 0112-784-537. Recorrection applications need to be submitted prior to the 30th of April.
President Maithripala Sirisena met the students who passed the 2016 GCE Advanced Level Examination and Grade 5 Scholarship Examinations with outstanding results today.
Awards were presented to the students at the Presidential Secretariat. 35 students who passed the GCE A-Level examination held in 2016 and 12 students who topped the Year 5 Scholarship Examination were present at the event. Minister Kabir Hashim convened a media briefing in Sirikota today. The May Day rally will take place at Campbell Park as usual. The May Day procession will be organized in a grand scale.
A government minister says there's a cold war between the two parties, possibly because of cabinet positions. They say that subject of finance may go to Ranil Wickremesinghe and you might end up with agriculture. Your thoughts?
It would be great to function as a minister for a considerable period. Then he would understand the subject well. There may be changes based on the requirement of the government. There were rumors about a reshuffle. The Prime Minister and President are engaged in discussions. There may be a reshuffle. We cannot say how it will take place. I'm anyway prepared to get into the paddy field.
Do you believe that you will be given the subject of agriculture?
I cannot say that. I saw what was reported. I cannot be certain on how it will take place. I will accept what is given to me.
The minister also responded to a question on Tissa Thanayaka.
If he makes a request, it will be considered. Anyone can join the party.
Activists raised concern about the controversial tie factory in Horana.
Construction on the controversial tyre factory in Horana has recommenced. The chairman of the BOI said yesterday that the investor has agreed to provide more than the announced funds and to develop the infrastructure. Thereby, agreements on the project have been signed with the BOI.
මේ ශාකර්මාන්ත ශාලාව ලබා දෙනවාට පෞගිය කාලේ
In the past, the chairman of the BOI has opposed the construction of this factory. But in a new development, the chairman of the BOI says that the investor has agreed to invest more than what was announced and also to develop the infrastructure facilities at his own cost. This is an astounding statement. It's like this. I go to the store to buy a pencil priced 100 rupees. I offer 1000 rupees for it and I say that if required, I would work for the store. This is absurd. Nandana Lokuitana started off with a canteen in Dubai and then purchased the Marriott Hotel and the Steel Corporation at rocket speed. There were issues as to whose funds are being invested by Nandana Lokuitana. The country was aware that he was good friends with Mahinda Rajapaksa. That is why the people questioned the funds that were being invested. Malik Samaravikrama gives an assurance that they don't care about Lokuitana, his relationships and his past, and what is important for them are his investments. This is an astounding type of good governance. The theory of good governance is not to allow any rogue with money to invest in the country.
අපි සල්ලි ගේන ඕනෑම හොරෙක්ට මේ රටේ මුදල් වියදම් කරන්න මේ රටේ ආයෝජනය කරන්න ඉඩ දෙන එක නෙමෙයි.
මේ හැම දෙයක්ම විනිවිද භාවයෙන් කරනවා නම් ජනාධිපතිතුමාට මැදිහත් වෙලා නවත්තන්න අවශ්‍ය නැහැ.
If everything is done in a transparent manner, there will be no need for the president to intervene. There are ministers to engage in these undertakings in a transparent manner. As this is a government that came to power on the foundation of good governance, we tell them to follow the principles of good governance. But there is impropriety taking place. That is why we say that if these matters are done in a transparent manner, there will be no need for the president to intervene. If the ministers acted intelligently, this situation will not arise. It is good for factories to come up, but it is important that they are done in a more transparent manner.
Minister of Petroleum Resources and Development Chandima Virakuri convened a media briefing today. Now, the minister expressed his views about the SLFP May Day rally and the current political situation in the country.
The SLFP has decided to hold its May Day rally at the Gatapi grounds in Kandy. We'd like to inform you that all trade unions and organizations linked to the SLFP will take part in this rally.
Journalists raised questions about the delay of local government elections.
As a political party, we are of the view that the elections need to be held. You need to ask that question from the Elections Commissioner and the relevant ministries. The Gazette on the delimitation process was published. The Gazette on determining the number of candidates as well as other matters will now be carried out. We are also of the view that the relevant ministries need to expedite their work.
The minister also expressed his views on the meeting of the joint opposition.
We invite them to hold meetings of this nature on a monthly basis. Then they will understand where they truly stand. The harm they cause will send ripples all around. One must remember that the tree must be strong for the creepers to grow on it. If the creeper tries to strangle the tree, not only the tree, but the creeper too will die.
The minister also elaborated on the progress of the crude oil exploration in the seas of Sri Lanka.
We are preparing ourselves to call for tenders according to international standards to attract investors for the M2 reserve. In a similar manner, tenders for the reserves numbered 4, 5 and 6 will also be called for in the fourth quarter of this year.
Welcome back to the news. Former Defence Secretary Gotabaya Rajapaksa had denied charges made by Minister Sarath Fonseca on the existence of a secret military outfit that reportedly targeted journalists. Now, speaking to the Foreign Correspondents Association last evening in Colombo, Gotabaya had said that if such an outfit existed, the then army commander must be held accountable.
The BBC Sinhala service quoting Rajapaksa says that the then government investigated the disappearances and assassinations of journalists and the details uncovered at present were uncovered during the previous investigations as well. Gotabaya said that he has not decided yet on a possible entry to active politics, adding that he is willing to work with a leader whose policies are agreeable. According to the former Defence Secretary, former President Rajapaksa had always hinted that Gotabaya does not know politics. Indian media quotes Gotabaya Rajapaksa saying that during the time of former Indian National Security Advisor Shiv Shankar Menon, the Congress-led government had been very supportive of Sri Lanka. He says that as soon as the BJP came to power and Ajit Doval became NSA, the China issue was brought to the fore. Gotabaya says that Doval had twice asked him to cancel the China-funded Colombo Port City project and take back the southern container terminal at the Colombo port from the Chinese. In this context, he referred to the alleged visit of a Chinese nuclear submarine in November 2014, which created a flutter in India, to which Gotabaya adds that, quote, "Firstly, it was not a nuclear submarine, and secondly, it is not true that the visits by Chinese submarines were secrets," unquote. He says that the Indian High Commissioner had been informed about the visits of the vessels, and these visits had taken place with prior permission from the Sri Lankan government. Against this background, Gotabaya said that he is intrigued by India's silence over the present Sri Lanka government's handling over 80% of the shares in Hambantota port to a Chinese state-owned company for 99 years. Whilst a strong taxation policy is an essential attribute of a robust economy, the uncertainty surrounding the current rate of corporate income tax has led to ambiguity, the one thing a taxation policy should not be.
Yesterday on News First, we spoke about the manner in which the government was attempting to make changes to the Inland Revenue Act by bringing in a draft income tax bill in a hurried manner with minimal consultation with stakeholders. To date, the draft bill is not in the public domain. This came under discussion during Face the Nation last night.
It is shocking. Firstly, I think we have to look at Sri Lanka has had a very good tax system operation for nearly 50 years in this country. Now, having had that, we are supposed to be importing a new bill which has been drafted by the IMF, which we understand is their recommendation for Ghana. Now, Ghana is starting their tax system. We have a lot wrong with our tax system. There was a tax commission whose report has not been seen by even we in the Parliamentary Select Committee asked for it and we couldn't get a copy. So, when we have had our own people knowledgeable with tax making recommendations to make the change, that commission report is kept aside. We are bringing IMF draft, we are bringing consultants from overseas who are going to manage and set up a tax. None of us know what it's going to be. Yes, select institutions like the Chamber has had the benefit of this being given.
In this connection, it is apt to note that at the moment, corporate income tax too is an area riddled with contradictions. Delivering his budget speech for 2016, Finance Minister Ravi Karunanayake said that the corporate income tax applicable is 15%. However, in a circular released on 28 March 2016, the Inland Revenue Department set out the percentage of corporate income tax at 17.5%. However, on the 1st of April 2016, the Inland Revenue Department once again said the earlier circular is temporarily withheld, adding that further announcement will be made upon receipt of proper instructions from the Ministry of Finance. On 8th April 2016, the Inland Revenue Department once again says the applicable rate is 17.5%. To date, no statute has been enacted to reflect the multiple changes made to the rate of corporate tax. To date, businessmen are still uncertain as to what percentage of corporate income tax they need to pay. This has resulted in the former rate of 28% remaining as the effective rate of corporate income tax. The financial year 2016-2017 ends this Friday, with no clear direction on the rate of corporate income tax applicable for the past 12 months. The business community is burdened with heavy taxation. However, the taxable income of political parties continues to be unclear. Transparency International Sri Lanka had requested for the financial statements of all political parties under the Right to Information Act. Yet, there appears to be little clarity on the taxable income of political parties despite the large amounts of money they make. With just 3 days before the end of the financial period 2016-2017, the applicable rate for corporate income tax is in the lap of the gods.
The Monetary Board of the Central Bank has decided to take disciplinary action against any official of the Central Bank where there is evidence of wrongdoings reported while managing the EPF account. Issuing a communique, the Central Bank stated that the Monetary Board has held discussions with regard to the report on the examination of EPF transactions in government securities. The Monetary Board has held discussion with the aim of taking suitable action in respect to the findings on the report.
Issuing 30-year bonds, was it a directive of the Monetary Board or the Governor of the Central Bank? Zulfiq Farzan has more on the developments on day 23 of the Presidential Commission.
Providing evidence today, the overnight witness P. Samarasiri said that at the Monetary Board meeting on the 23rd of February 2015, the then Governor Arjuna Mahendran instructed the board to issue 30-year bonds in that very week. The reason given was to extend the yield curve to restructure the country's debt profile. According to the witness, as there was no other suggestions from the members of the board, the governor's directive was noted down in the minutes as what was decided upon. The breakfast meeting dated the 26th of February 2015 was also raised before the commission. The witness said the meeting was centered on obtaining local funds from the government for road development projects as international funds were over. The finance minister resisted giving the funds, citing that some of the contracts were unsolicited. As the witness was supervising the public debt department, he was asked how he came to know of the auction dated 27th February 2015. He responded that he had seen it in the press release the day before. A telephone conversation between Samarasiri and Arjuna Mahendran made at the tender board meeting on the day of the impugned auction saw many details come to light. Samarasiri revealed that Mahendran had given him 3 reasons for giving a directive to accept 10 billion in bids. 1. There would be high interest rates in the market in the future. 2. The liquidity in the market. 3. Government required funding. On the matter of the tender board meeting, the witness said that he was enraged over the governor's directive given during a visit to the PDD. He questioned the existence of a tender board if the governor can issue directives of this nature. He added that during his career, he had no experience of any governor intervening in an auction process. According to a report by the Auditor General, the state suffered a loss of 1.6 billion rupees through the 2 treasury bond auctions on the 27th February 2015 and 29th March 2015 on the day of the issuance. The report adds that the possibility of increase of the estimated gains or losses due to the bond issuance cannot be ruled out. Apart from the matters of the Treasury Board and the Monetary Board that were raised before the Commission today, a meeting dated the 23rd of March 2015 was also raised before the Commission. Now giving evidence today, the Deputy Governor of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, P. Samarasiri, said that this meeting was a meeting with the primary dealers of the Central Bank. Now also what he mentioned was that Finance Minister Ravi Karunanayake also attended the meeting. However, he said that an invite was not extended to the Finance Minister. At this meeting, matters pertaining to the 10 times acceptance of bids made on the 27th of February 2015 were highlighted and were discussed among all those attendees. From the Presidential Commission of Inquiry appointed to investigate and inquire into the Treasury bond issue, I'm Zulfiq Farzan for News First.
Minister of Foreign Affairs Mangala Samarawira, commenting on the outcome of the recent United Nations Human Rights Commission sessions, said that the government succeeded in mustering the support of 48 countries to secure a 2-year extension period to tackle measures that are outstanding from the 2015 UN Resolution on Reconciliation and Accountability.
National Unity Government has succeeded in making the entire international community rally around to help us in friendship. 34/1 that was adopted on 23rd March. There was no vote, but we remember in 2014 when the international community decided to appoint an international investigation into Sri Lanka, there were only 12 countries who stood by our country at that time. There are those who say that Sri Lanka has sold its soul, compromised sovereignty, cowed down to the West because of their envy and their jealousy. But I want to state very clearly that all we have done under President Sirisena and Prime Minister Wickremesinghe is to reassert our sovereignty and regain the lost respect for Sri Lanka among the international community.
Resolution 30/1 of September 2015, which was co-sponsored by Sri Lanka, called for the establishment of a judicial mechanism with foreign as well as Sri Lankan judges and prosecutors and a truth-seeking and reparation mechanism. Minister Mangala Samarawira told reporters today that the final decision on the structure and nature of process will lie with the government.
Realize that a resolution is not like a edict, it's not something which is something carved in stone. As High Commissioner Zaid himself mentioned in his press conference in Sri Lanka, he said there are certain things we as the United Nations Human Rights Council can propose. because they think that is needed. But finally, the final decisions under the system we promoted in 2015, the final decision is ours. As a sovereign country, we will have to decide what we can do and what we cannot do. All we know is there are very serious allegations against Sri Lanka. So we will look into those allegations and decide, first of all, whether those are war crimes or not. Because I personally believe that Sri Lanka has one of the most disciplined armies in the world. But like in all armies, we have miscreants. We have black sheep. So if there are people who is proven after an investigation that they have done wrong, then we will deal with those people, and thereby we will retain or protect the good name of our armed forces. I mean, whether these will amount to war crimes or not is something which will have to be decided by the courts one day.
The joint opposition convened a media briefing in Colombo today. Now attention was drawn towards the Hambantota port transaction during the media briefing.
Sri Lanka Mahabankuwe Adipati Acharya Kumaraswamy Mahat.
Central Bank Governor Kumaraswamy says that selling the Hambantota port is very decisive to the country. Why is that? He says we should somehow or the other sell the port during the course of this year and obtain $400 million from it. During the course of next year, we need to obtain another $700 million. The amount that they are trying to sell the port for, in rupees, amounts to $165 billion. We would like to present a challenge to the governor of the central bank. From the day this government was appointed until now, this government has burned $4,300 million. The dollar has appreciated against the rupee. Foreign reserves have dropped from 8.2 billion to 5.1 billion. $4,300 million were wasted in vain. Now the central bank is trying to sell this port for $400 million. But you wasted $4,300 million. If you did not waste that $4,300 million, you would have no need to sell the Hambantota port.
තමුන් විසින් පුච්චලා තියෙනවා 4300. 4300 පිට්ටුවේ නැත්තම් වරාය විකුණන්න ඕනෙත් නෑ.
මෙතරම් අවාසිදායක ගිවිසුමක් කවදක්වත් කිසිම කෙනෙක් යෝජනා කළේ නෑ.
No one has ever proposed such a disadvantageous agreement. According to my views, this is against the constitution of the country. According to this proposed agreement, all naval operations at the port will be handed over to the China Merchant Company. These operations are key features of a country's sovereignty and supremacy. Decisions pertaining to these naval operations must be handled by the government. That is a manner in which the supremacy of the country is put into practice. So it is part of that supremacy of Sri Lanka that we are now trying to hand over to a Chinese company.
අපි චීන සමාගමට
Wrap up primetime news for the News First team. I am Sandaru Ferdinando.
And I'm Azra Hassan. Take care and good night.